This is Generation Stadia, giving you that daily dose of everything and anything cloud gaming related, and today we're going to be talking some big cloud gaming news surrounding Facebook. Yeah, that's right, I did say Facebook, and that's because they're entering the cloud gaming race, but in a bit of a different way. Up until now, the cloud gaming race has always been about the core gamer. Be it Stadia, GeForce Now, PlayStation Now, or Xbox game streaming, they all share one thing in common. They aim to deliver that AAA high-fidelity gameplay that you get from consoles or a gaming PC anywhere you go through the power of the internet. But now we have Facebook joining in, stating that they'll focus on streaming mobile games through the cloud with a service simply titled Facebook Gaming. Facebook is clearly targeting a much more casual audience off the get-go. Now hear me out, before I begin talking about this, I want to address the elephant in the room. I know there are plenty of you out there who are probably thinking it's pretty dumb that they're going to be using this technology to stream mobile games, especially with so many people out there already owning mobile devices. But trust me when I say that Facebook has probably done their research here. They're an incredibly smart company when it comes to marketing and research. It's also extremely important to remember that while yes, many people have mobile phones, not everyone ends up going with the high-end device that can play the latest mobile games. And let's not forget the fact that the mobile gaming market is on a rise year over year. In parts of Asia, it's become a very big staple way for people to enjoy games. There's a reason we're seeing games like League of Legends Wild Rift being made and aimed at the mobile market. There's money to be made there, and you bet Facebook wants a piece of that pie. I also have to keep it real with you all. While I'm not personally interested in mobile gaming, some of these games are starting to look really good. And the fact that mobile devices and the technology that surrounds it keeps advancing every 6 to 8 months, I'm totally expecting some crazy looking mobile games not too far off in the distant future. There's already some very impressive looking stuff. But now that we've discussed a bit of why they're targeting this market, let's discuss how they're going about it, because this is the real play here. It's being put directly inside of Facebook itself, and that's what's gonna make this pop off in a big way. How many times have you been scrolling through a feed only to encounter an ad for a mobile game that has some sort of HTML5 playable demo? It's a very rough copy of what the game is like, but it's not using the actual game's code. These type of interactive demos are starting to become more and more common practice because they're proven to work. Well, now instead of launching into some cheap carbon copy based on HTML5, it's gonna launch into the game itself via the cloud. That's huge from both the gameplay perspective and the marketing side of things. Before this, the only interactive demos that could be made were for mobile games that were really basic. More complex games like Call of Duty Mobile never had that sort of interactive demo opportunity. This now opens that possibility up, and I'm totally expecting some big names to get involved here. Another really important aspect to remember about this approach is that the mobile games were designed from the ground up to use touch controls. Other streaming services such as Stadia and Xbox game streaming do have implementation for touch-based UI, but it's not as good as it is when it's designed from the ground up. Xbox game streaming in particular is trying to do this by actually designing the touch controls specifically for each game, but that's a ton of work to add. Not every game can be played on Android through Game Pass. Stadia's approach is much more universal, but as of right now, it's just slapping all the buttons you would normally have on a controller on your touchscreen. While this does work for some games, for others it's not really a great way to play. What this means for Facebook Gaming is that you really don't need any additional hardware to play the games the way they're meant to be played. They're certainly not trying to sell you a streaming stick or tell you to play these games on your TV screen. They are very targeted and clearly going after the mobile market. That said, the Facebook webpage will be able to stream these games to you if you're on your PC. There's one more thing I want to discuss before moving on to my personal thoughts on Facebook joining the gaming landscape, and that's availability. It seems like Facebook is pretty early on with this project, as it's currently only available in certain states. Those states being California, Texas, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, and West Virginia. Additionally, it's only available on Android mobile devices for the same reasons that iOS is blocking the likes of Stadia and Xbox game streaming. And like those other two, they have stated that they are working on bringing it over to iOS via a workaround. In terms of games available, right now you can play Asphalt 9 Legends, Mobile Legends Adventure, PGA Tour Golf Shootout, Solitaire Arthur's Tale, WWE Supercard, and Dirt Bike Unchained. It's a very small library, but they have pointed out that they will be expanding the game library in number, type, and genre. All this really says is that it's still very early on for this service. It seems like they're testing the waters right now and want to see the reaction it gets. It's also why right now this is a free service. They're only using free-to-play games and they're not trying to charge you to play through the cloud. It'll be interesting to see how they grow and expand the service because it will say a lot about just how many users are adopting it. But now let me talk about Facebook as a company itself. Because up until now, I do think they're going to be pretty successful with this, and I do think there's an audience for it. But on a personal level, I'm not the biggest fan of Facebook as a company. And I say this as someone who's already purchased from their gaming division. I own an Oculus Rift, an Oculus Rift S, and an Oculus Quest. It's because of the fact that I own those products that I know Facebook is going to succeed with this. It's also why I'm very cautious and would warn anyone before making a purchase on their cloud streaming service. Facebook is the big name leading the charge for virtual reality, and they've done a ton for that market, but they've also burned a ton of bridges with early adopters. I can no longer buy any replacement parts for my original Oculus Rift because they stopped selling them as soon as the Rift S came out. Funny enough, my HDMI cable broke and I was told, sorry, out of luck, go buy a Rift S. So I did that, and I also bought an Oculus Quest for standalone VR. Both are fantastic products, don't get me wrong. But when the Oculus Quest became such a success and they announced its successor, the Quest 2, well, they pretty much declared that the Rift S is no longer a focus for them. And it's not just the Rift S, it seems like PC-based VR is no longer a primary focus whatsoever. So in a span of a few years, I've bought two devices that are already being phased out. I understand that businesses are only in it for the money. They're not meant to be your friends, and at the end of the day, financials are what matter to them. But this really did feel like a backstab not to just myself, but many Oculus users out there. And this doesn't even include all the crazy things that are going on with the Quest 2 right now. Accounts being used simultaneously on two devices are getting banned and losing access to their entire library. If your Facebook and Oculus credentials don't match up for who you are, well, guess what? You're also getting banned right now. And whether or not they're mistakes, the only thing that they've said to their consumers is to double check that your credentials are right before combining the accounts. Lastly, it's now becoming mandatory to link an Oculus account to a Facebook account for you to really use all the features the Oculus Quest 2 offers. But it's also going to be affecting other users who bought an Oculus Quest. This comes after Oculus as a company stating that they would separate the two and that you would never be forced to link to a Facebook account. Personally, I've never trusted Facebook as a social media app, and I've never trusted them as a company. They make great products and services, I'm not going to deny that, and like I said, I'm totally expecting Facebook gaming to take off. But after the experience I've had with their VR gaming division, I'd be extremely cautious before ever investing or recommending in their new cloud streaming service. Either way, that wraps up everything I had to say on this subject. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel out. And if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. Today's end of video question is simply asking you what you think of this new streaming service. Do let me know in the comments section below. I look forward to reading your replies. As always, thank you for watching. This has been Generation Stadia, giving you that daily dose of everything and anything cloud gaming related. The Gen S community is over 5,200 strong and growing by the day, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.